Now, I want you to turn in your Bibles to Judges chapter 6. And I'm going to read a little bit out of Judges 6. We're going to be in Judges 6 and Judges 7. So if you'll just stay right there. We're going to talk about Gideon today. And I hope today I can show you a Gideon that I see differently than I used to see. I know Gideon ain't, he ain't all that. You know, he ain't Rambo or Muhammad Ali, or he ain't your warrior that you think of. He ain't the guy that's got the big arms and the tats and the scars. He ain't got a cauliflower ear, I don't imagine. You know, you don't, when you think of a warrior and a fighter, you don't envision Gideon as being one of them. But I hope before we finish today, you'll see that Gideon's a fighter. And what we have seen as Gideon, and what I think most of us believe to be the character of Gideon, we've completely missed. So I'm going to start in Judges 6, verse 11. I'm going to read 11 through 16, and then we'll chew on it. It says, Then the angel of the Lord came and sat under the oak that was in Ophrah, not Oprah, but Ophrah, which belonged to Joash the Abiezrite, as his son Gideon was beating out wheat in the winepress in order to save it from the Midianites. The angel of the Lord appeared to him and said to him, "Oh, the Lord is with you, O valiant warrior." Then Gideon said to him, "Oh, my Lord, if the Lord is with us, why then has all this happened to us? And where are all his miracles which our fathers told us about, saying, Did not the Lord bring us up from Egypt? But now the Lord has abandoned us and has given us into the hand of the Midian." The Lord looked at him and said, "Go in this your strength and deliver Israel from the hand of Midian. Have I not sent you?" He said to him, "O Lord, how shall I deliver Israel? Behold, my family is the least in Manasseh, and I am the youngest in my father's house." But the Lord said to him, "Surely I will be with you, and you shall defeat Midian as one man." So, let's talk about Gideon for just a minute. The angel of the Lord shows up to Gideon, and it's just kind of, I like you just envision him sitting underneath that oak tree. And it's like Gideon's hard at work. And I mean, he's busting his hump. He's trying his best to get some harvest out of this wheat. And he's doing it in a wine press, which is a very confined space at the bottom of the hill. And where you normally would thresh your wheat is on the hilltop and a wide open with oxen. You'd take oxen and they would drag this big heavy deal around in a circle over the top of the wheat. And it would cause the wheat to pop up and the chaff would blow away and the seeds would be left. But Gideon's in this wine press where they use the breeze on the hilltop to help clean it, to help separate the harvest. And so in the wine presses down low, there ain't no wind. So y'all got to imagine he's pretty sweaty. It's pretty hot. And they ain't got no oxen, he's doing it. So whether he's dragging something, pushing something, stomping on them, the wine press was designed to press grapes, not wheat. But he's using it. Now every time I've read that and every time I've heard that preached on, it was because Gideon was such a coward. He was afraid, and he was doing that so that he wouldn't be caught. He was trying to stay out of the Midianites' eyes. But if you go to looking at it, it tells you exactly why he was doing it down there. In verse 11, it says he was beating out the wheat in the winepress in order to save it from the Midianites. It don't say nothing about saving himself. Here's what's happened. God had allowed Israel to come under the hand of the Midianites, and for I think 7 years, they had been just oppressing them and holding them down, and just being a bully. And so what the Midianites did, they had this huge army. It was a lot, and they would wait and let the Israelites plant their crops, and they would let the Israelites raise their crops, and they would let the Israelites harvest their crops. And when they got the crops to the threshing floor, and they had to harvest in bank, so to speak, they rolled up, smoked all the Israelites, took all their harvest. They left them with nothing. Did the same thing with their flocks and with everything they produced. They just would let it get done, and then they'd wipe in there and take it away from them. So when I'm reading this, I have one face that comes to mind, and he tormented the snot out of me through high school till I missed his head with a baseball bat and hit a locker right beside it. And he said, "You going to try to kill me?" And I said, "Yes, I am. I am sick of you." We became friends. And so I can see Gideon. You know, think about it like this. all of Israel has been tormented by these guys. And there's a lot of them. Looking, if you got your Bible, look right across the page at verse 5. It says, "For they would come up with their livestock and their tents, and they would come in like locusts for number. Both they and their camels were innumerable, and they came into the land and devastated it." This is talking about what the Midianites did. They just showed up and took it. And they just devastated people and property and land. They just cleaned it out and left nothing behind. And so I think, man, here Gideon is. He's harvested some of this wheat, and he's down in the wine press trying to get some of the product, trying to get some of the harvest in without it all being taken away. Because what happens if you take all the harvest? They're going to starve to death. They don't have nothing to eat. It's not just, in America, we don't grasp that because we don't really know. I mean, the poorest person in America still gets fed. But we make sure of that. But in other countries and back in this time, people went hungry. And if you didn't grow it, you didn't keep it, you didn't eat it. There was no such thing as food stamps or WIC there was no food pantries at every church and 2 or 3 in town. You know what I'm saying? And so listen, Gideon is down there to be able to keep food for his family. And so when you start to see what Gideon's really doing, it really changes the way you see him. He's not hiding out of fear for himself. He's hiding out of producing something for his family in order to keep his family alive, in order to feed them, so that whoever he's connected to don't spend the next season going hungry and without because it got all took away from a bully. But something huge changes whenever the angel of the Lord addresses him in verse 12, and it says, "The Lord is with you, O valiant warrior." Now, when you first read that and you think he's hiding under a wine press, trying to get harvest in, he's scared to death that they're going to come kill him and take everything he owns. Why in the world would you call him a valiant warrior? Why would the angel of the Lord? Something really happens here because the whole conversation changes. And if you'll see in verse 14, it says, "The Lord looked at him and said." So we're no longer talking about an angel. An angel, when you read the word angel, it literally means messenger. Somebody sent to deliver a message. And so I don't have time to get into the theology of it and the understanding of it, but something drastically changed. Gideon was talking to somebody that was bringing a message to him, and it shifted whenever he was acknowledged as a valiant warrior. Gideon began to speak into the one giving the message, not the deliverer. Y'all following me? And the same thing needs to happen in our lives. I may be the one preaching to you right now. I may have been given a message to deliver to you. But when you understand that God himself is speaking to you today, you no longer hear from me, you hear from him. And church service don't just remain church service. It becomes a day of reckoning. It becomes a day of change. It becomes a day out of the wine press standing on my own 2 feet. It becomes a day where I changed and my life forever has been changed. But that only happens not when you hear from a messenger, when you hear the message that he's proclaiming. So listen, why did it happen? Why did it happen? Why did it, when he called him a valiant warrior, why did it happen? And all of a sudden now Gideon's not addressing the deliverer, but he's addressing the person that sent the message himself. Because God knows you like no one else knows you. And while the whole world may have judged Gideon and looked at Gideon as a coward hiding in a wine press, God's seen a valiant warrior who refused to die and give up, who refused to just not keep trying. At least he was doing something. He was making the most, trying his hardest to do what he thought he could do with what he had to do it with. Y'all get that? And so listen, I don't care if you ain't done it right. If you're trying and you're doing what you can do, the best you think you can do, God sees you and says, you're a valiant warrior. Keep fighting. If all you're getting is a sack full of wheat instead of a truckload, you keep plugging. You keep getting up and going. Because a valiant warrior is someone who don't quit. They keep getting up and they keep doing what they can do with whatever it is they've got to do it with. Some of you showed up with just this much. I ain't got much more in me. I'm tired. Some of you moms showed up and you're sick and tired of raising your kids and you're sick and tired of raising your mother-in-law's kids. I totally feel sorry for you. And I just ain't got no more in me. Well, don't quit. Make the most out of what you got. And some of you, I know personally, you didn't get much, but make the most out of it. Just do what you can do with what you got to do with. Take that sucker down there in that wine press and stomp on him and see if he won't come up a little bit more of a man. But I said do it in the wine press, not up on the hilltop where all your friends can cackle and post it on Facebook. What's wrong with America today? I understand strong-willed women. I happen to be married to one. But you don't see it out here. Let me just tell you, I catch it at home. Love you, honey. Now look what happens. I want y'all to grasp this about Gideon. I'm never going to get done. The Lord said to him, "Oh, you valiant warrior." Wait a minute, let me back. The Lord is with you, O valiant warrior. Then Gideon said, now Gideon asked some hard questions. Gideon said, "Oh, my Lord, if the Lord is with us, why then has all this happened to us? And where are all his miracles which our fathers told us about, saying, he did not the Lord bring us out from Egypt, but now the Lord has abandoned us and given us to the hand of the Midian." Do y'all see a difference in their conversation? What's the difference? Angel of the Lord's addressing him individually. Gideon speaking on behalf of the nation. So you know what that tells me about the characteristic of Gideon? He's not all that self-centered and self-absorbed. Let me tell you something. If I'm in the wine press doing the best I can with everybody else in my family, especially them older than me, I ain't doing jack crap. And I'm doing what I can do, and I'm just assuming they ain't doing nothing because there ain't nothing said about them. But I'm in the wine press trying my best to protect and get some harvest so that our family ain't going without. And the angel of the Lord shows up, and I'm covered in sweat and stuck, and I'm frustrated. You know, I ain't gonna be thinking about y'all knowing. I'm just telling you the truth. I'm gonna be like, you know what you could do? You could help me instead of sitting underneath that oak tree looking at me. Because that's just how I am. I just think we got something to do. You need to be helping me do it instead of sitting on the porch watching me do it, telling me what I ought not done or what I should have done, which would have been better if I'd have done it. I got so confused right there. Did we do it or not? I didn't even, let me move on. That's just how I personally would have probably addressed him. You know, I'd have been like, well, dude, get up and help do something. Heck, y'all remember the little joke about the boy pulling the wagon and the cussing and the preacher said, don't be talking about that. Jesus in the wagon. He said, well, tell Jesus to get his butt out and push the wagon. You know, I mean, I kind of have that same little kid mentality. I'm struggling here, angel of the Lord. And if God's all that and he's with me, I don't see him threshing out this wheat. And where was he when this? And why ain't he with this? And Gideon completely goes to the overall aspect of what is the condition of his nation, not of himself. So he's not a self-centered guy. He's thinking. The reason he's in the wine press is because he's thinking of others. The reason he's addressing the angel of the Lord, the reason he begins to direct the Lord specifically is because he is seeking true answers to some tough questions. Let me tell you something. Fear don't go away because you ignore it. Fear goes away because you face it, you confront it, and you are willing to ask the hard questions about it. And only God has your answers to your darkest, deepest fears. You have got to begin to ask him. Where, Lord? Why, Lord? You see what I'm saying? And he'll begin to answer you. Do you see anywhere where he gets rebuked for asking questions? I have asked God some really hard questions. Now, I have been rebuked in the language that I used in the questioning or the attitude that I had during the questioning, but I've never had him tell me, how dare you ask me a question. I've never felt that at all. I've never felt no convictions when I'm struggling and straining, tossing and turning, wee hours of the morning, don't understand, don't have a clue. Where are you, Lord? He's never said, how dare you ask me that. He's always said, I'm right here by you. Quit punching me and embrace me and we'll punch it together. So it's kind of what he tells Gideon. Look, that's exactly what he tells Gideon. The Lord looked at him and said, go in this your strength and deliver Israel from the hand of Midians. Have I not sent you? So when I read that, my old pea brain goes, okay, he said go, but then he says in this your strength. Well, what the heck is this? Because it don't say what, you know what I'm saying? Go in this your strength. You know what his strength was? God said go. God said go. Period. Listen, that is your strength. Because that requires faith for you to go simply upon God's commission. For when God says go and you go, yes, sir. That's all faith. That's a step in faith, and that is your power. It's when you got to have, well, no, you know what, I can take one step, but what happens 552 miles down the road? I need to know what happens there. No, there's no faith in that. You can't Google your way to serving the Lord. You can't, what's that other, not Google, MapQuest, you know, where you think it tells you, oh, I don't have to think no more, I can just drive. And you can't drop a pin. He says go, and you get up and go. And when you go, when you take that first step, that is in your strength. It is a faith. It is faith. Fear, one of the greatest mysteries that I haven't learned to preach, and I don't even know how to explain what it does, but fear can become fuel. And fear is one of the best fuels. And it's like there's a conversion that takes place, and it's fear, and it's genuine. But through faith, that fear is converted into fuel that drives your life. Do y'all think I don't get a little fearsome about preaching? When I'm tired of preaching, I'm tired of studying, I'm tired of listening, I'm fatigued physically, I'm frustrated maritally, I'm struggling mentally. I mean, y'all know I got some issues. And so it's like, man, I ain't never going to have this figured out between now and Sunday. I ain't never going to know what I'm going to preach. I don't know what I'm going to do this for. I don't know. And I'm like, fear starts going, yeah, you don't know. But somehow, using faith as your next step, when you go in faith, the conversion begins to take place and fear becomes fuel that fuels your life in the Spirit of God. It's unlike any other fuel you can tap. I mean, it's the highest grade of fuel. So he tells him, you go and have I not sent you? And Gideon ain't through arguing a little bit. He said, oh Lord, how shall I deliver Israel? Behold, my family is the least in Manasseh, and I am the youngest in my father's house. But the Lord said to him, surely I will be with you, and you shall defeat Midian as one man. Listen, when I read that first few times I read it, I thought it meant you'll defeat Midian as one, like Gideon and whoever's with you, you'll be like one dude. No, he's saying right now you see them as this huge, big, numerous, so many of them you can't count them. But if you'll do it like I said, you'll go in my strength, and you'll go because I sent you, you'll whoop them like there's just one of them. One battle takes out the whole army. Listen to me. Satan does not act on your behalf for the most part. Honestly, we're just fleas on a dog's back. He just sends a few demonics and a few spirits at you, and a few regrets, and a few shame, and a few insecurities and mindsets, and that torments you well enough that it kind of neutralizes your influence in the world, for the most part. But what he's telling Gideon is the same thing in our life today. If we go in his strength, defeating Satan and all of his little gremlins and all their ploys and attacks and attempts to devastate you and throw you off of God's purpose and plan for your life, all of that is like kicking one man's butt. If you go as he sent you. How did he send Gideon? In faith. He said, go, for this is your strength. He didn't give him a battle plan. He didn't give him a deliverance date. He didn't say, you'll arrive at such and such. He just said, go. And this is your power. So whatever it is you're sitting in here wishing you had the answer with what you need to deal with that you've been trying to deal with for 40 years, the answer is to go. Because it don't flow until you go. But once you go, the power of faith begins to flow. And you will defeat. Listen, some of us as kids, you got stuff from your childhood that's still a part of you, and it's tormenting you. And it strangles you, and it holds you down. All that stuff. Listen, here's another way to look at it. All the regrets that you have in your whole life, all the sins, and all the doors and ways you let evil and Satan have at you. All of that is too numerous to count. Do y'all realize that? It's too numerous for me to even try to count my sins for a month, much less my 47 years on this earth. But all that, all of them are defeated as one man. That is when I go in faith. That's how they defeated. Gideon said, but I'm the least and the youngest. And I just want to say, being the youngest of my two older brothers and pretty much the least. I mean, I was the smallest, and I'm not no more. I'm bigger than both of them, I think, fat-wise. But for a long time, I was sure enough the littlest and the youngest. They did not hesitate to remind me of that. Being from the black sheep of the family, my dad, and I mean, most of y'all know my family dynamics. I've argued that same argument with the Lord. My dad told me from the time I could remember that my mouth wouldn't do nothing but keep me in trouble. He told me time and time again, if you ever want to amount to something, shut your mouth up. Lo and behold, 47 years old, and nobody listens to me except when I'm talking. And now nobody cares what I do except, hey, Jay, what do you say about, what do you think about? Talk to a dude in Hawaii that listens to our church on YouTube. Hawaii. Escaped the Mexican mafia. Found bar none in prison in isolation 22 hours a day. And he said, we got nothing in common, man. I'm a Mexican and you're a gringo and I got tattoos everywhere. And I look like a gangster and you're no gangster and we don't talk the same language. But when you talk, I hear Jesus. Listen. Do you know how many fears I have about speaking, being as I was told my whole life, if you ever want to amount to anything, shut up. Do y'all hear what I'm saying? I don't want you to hear good from me. That's God. Because I had no idea when I said, okay, I'll at least share a little bit about what God does in my life. I'll at least share a little bit. 10 years ago, I had no idea that this very week I would spend an hour and 40 minutes on a phone with a dude just inside of Austin who's going through a lot of stuff because he's connected to a biker deal and it's rough and there's a lot of stress, and we prayed underneath the oak tree. And he said, man, I watch y'all on YouTube, and man, I can feel God speaking to me through you no matter how much I've done, no matter how wrong it is, no matter how hateful no matter how much pain I'm in, I feel the Lord speaking through this stupid phone. I don't understand that at all. I don't even know how to get to all that stuff. But God's using all that. And He wants to do the same thing in your life. And so whatever it is that has been so numerous for you to count, that has always been the bully, the only one I can tell, the only commission I got for you is go. Go, not because I have sent you, for the Lord has sent you. He did not come and redeem you and pay the price for all your sins to set you free so that you could remain in prison. However, fear is nothing more than your self-imposed prison. My question to you would be, when did we decide God came and sent His only begotten Son so that He could die for us so that we could arrive safely in heaven? That is not why my Jesus came. My Jesus came, faced Satan and hell, defeated, kicked their butts, got up and walked off so that me and you could walk free. That's why He came. Told y'all. Man. Go in my strength, for have I not sent you? Do you know what Philippians 4:13 says? If you literally translate it word for word, I have strength for all situations in union with Him who empowers me. Now I know all of you know it says, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. Literally translate it. Literally. This is what he said on the day it was penned. Paul said, I have the strength for all. Y'all say for all. Situations in the union with Him who empowers me. Man, that means no matter what comes at you, no matter what, I got the power in all those situations with Him. With Him who empowers me. With Him. For behold, have I not sent you? Let's go on and get to Judges 6, 24 through 27. So all right, Gideon, he deals with that deal, and he listens to him, and he ends up testing the Lord, laying out the fleece. Y'all all know that story. And then here comes the Lord again. He says to him, peace to you, do not fear, you shall not die. Can I tell you something from personal experience? When you hear from the Lord and he says peace to you, don't worry, you ain't going to die. It means you're going to get so dadgum close to it, or you're going to wish it would go on and happen so you could get on out of it, but it ain't going to happen. You're going to be all right. You're going to live through this. You may think hell has showed up and camped out. You're going to live through, you're going to get through it. You may think, man, death would be a promotion for me. I'm so tired and wore out. No, you're going to make it. Now, some of y'all in that marriage right now, and you're thinking, ain't no way out but death, and I'm ready for death to come. I'm just going to tell you, death ain't coming. Bear down. Bear down, you're going to get through it. Then Gideon built an altar there to the Lord, and he named it the Lord is Peace. To this day, it is still in Ophrah of the Abiezrites. I'm so sorry about that. Now, listen, look. On the same night, verse 25, now on the same night the Lord said to him, take your father's bull and a second bull, 7 years old, pull down the altar of Baal which belongs to your father, cut down the Asherah tree that's beside it, build an altar to the Lord your God on the top of it, on the top of the stronghold, in an orderly manner. Take a second bull and offer the burnt offering with the wood of the Asherah, which you shall cut down. Then Gideon took 10 men of his servants and did as the Lord had spoken to him. And because he was too afraid of his father's household and the men of the city to do it during the day, he did it by night. Did I tell y'all fear was a motivator? Fear is enough for you to say, I can't wait till the morning to deal with this. I got to deal with it now. I can't put it off no longer, Lord. You done showed me something now I got to handle. You done give me something to do. I got to go and do it right now. A lot of the lay pastors tell you I'll text them at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning because it ain't because I like to wake them up. It's because I got something on me. I'm finna share it right now. I don't care if it makes you mad and you don't like waking up at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. When I got something on me, I got to get it off. And sometimes I know me. If I wait till morning, I'll be on 47 different pages doing 15 other things, forget all about what it was I was supposed to do something with. And I'm tired of going, oh, I forgot all about that, Lord. Oh, I'm so sorry. No. I'd just rather tell you, I'm sorry I woke you up, sir. If I can say I'm sorry, sir, whether than I'm sorry, Lord, I'm always going to pick I'm sorry, sir.